Hey, what's up everybody? This is Robert184 from gundam.tk, and today I'm back with my 6th episode of Gundam Daily for April 25th. And don't forget to stay tuned next week for the Master Grade Wing Gundam review. And every time I go to my page to look for questions here, I keep falling behind. I think yesterday I had 16 pages of questions to answer. I think I've got 31 ahead of me. But anyway, I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. And if you like the videos, please remember, rate, comment, and subscribe. So lots of news so far in the world of Gundam, but the big one for me was that Bandai, through Hobby Japan or Dengeki Hobby, I haven't read the magazines, they should be on stands tomorrow, I think. Anyway, they released the top 5 of your most wanted master grades, and by yours I mean everybody who's been voting all around the world. And who is it? We've got 00 Riser, which I called for July, hopefully that happens. We've got the Double X and the V2, which I'm really happy to see. You also can see the old school influence in that people want the O. And the final one on the list, just from a modeling perspective, I think would be awesome, is the Master Grade Turn X, something to look forward to. Also, the Master Grade Wing Gundam is out, looks like somewhere in Hong Kong anyway. Anyway, somebody in China seems to have the Master Grade Wing, but I will be back here with my review, hopefully Wednesday or Thursday. Keep checking back, and you'll know as soon as it comes. And final bit of news is it looks like Bandai's trying to shut down the Chinese companies that are producing fake Gunpla, but anyway, if you do buy the real kits, hopefully that won't affect you too much. But anyway, let's get on with this show. 30 pages ahead of me to go through.
Alright, so first of all, Gnue asks, why don't you read the OOF and OOV mangas? The answer to that is pretty simple. It's because usually if I am shopping for manga, I'm going to be at a used shop, and because they're relatively new books, they're not usually in the used shop, so it's not something that I stumble across all the time. I don't really feel like paying $6 or $7 for the new thing. If it looks interesting, it's something that I will give a shot though down the line, and might make me want to buy Astrea, although I don't know if it'll hold up to Seed Astray, which was a pretty enjoyable read. He also recommends the O Gundam plus the GN Feathers, which is the big green GN Blast on the back, and it has epic articulation. I've already built the O Gundam in ACD, which was a great build, and I'm happy to have it. The only reason I'd buy the new one is for the green effect parts, but the other thing is, it seals for the yellow instead of actually being yellow parts, which was a bit of a turnoff. Was Wasic is a big fan, and he's hoping that the 144th high grade of the movie Gundams come out soon, and that they're a few weeks or months before the movie. And I think that since we know Bandai's release schedule up to June, and the movie is in September, hopefully July, August, September, they'll be getting out movie kits at least August, September, high grade 144th, and I'm hoping right off the bat we also get 1/100th non-grades. Sahog is wondering whether he should get the Double Zeta Master Grade or the Full Armor Zeta Double Zeta. Anyway, the Full Armor Double Zeta is not too bad looking. It's just got basically just a bunch of extra parts that you add on, and a few changes, like in the backpack, the missile racks on the back are different. So you won't be able to turn the Full Armor Double Zeta into the Double Zeta, but you would be able to turn it into a close enough version, so why not just get the Full Armor if you can get your hands on it? Shinigami Graph has an interesting question. What is Gundam fan culture, or Gunpla fan culture in Japan like? And actually that's a pretty deep and hard to answer question, but let me give it a shot. The first thing that I want to point out is that everything I'm talking about here is just anecdotal. It's not like I've gone and done a scientific survey of Japanese opinions of Gundam. But it comes across to me as being one of those things like, what's a good example? Anyway, it's a cartoon that everybody knows. Every boy knows Gundam, and when they were a kid, they probably watched it. And they probably watched it when they were a kid and then grew up and never watched it again. It's not the kind of thing that most people just continue on as, unless they're the hardcore fans. And if hardcore fans, the kind of people that you see in shops buying master grades, they grew up either in the 90s watching Wing and God, or they grew up in the 80s and they love Double Zeta. So I seem to find fans of either the 80s shows or the 90s shows. But the one thing that really surprises me is how, when everybody was a kid, they all built SD Gundams. Most males that I speak to here built SD Gundams when they were kids and then grew out of it. So it's not like Gundam is sweeping the whole nation here. There's just a small percentage of adults that continue this as a hobby into their adult lives, and they have disposable income, which is why Bandai makes master grades of the older series for them. Walkthrough Master asks, what is the biggest Gunpla shop you've ever been to? And Joshin's Gundam shop in Osaka used to be pretty good, but it just shut down during the spring vacation, which is disappointing. But probably in general, I remember a long time ago I went to Yodobashi Camera in Akihabara, and basically just seeing rows upon rows of Gundams on pallets. I still have that memory in my mind, and I'll never quite forget it. It's changed a few times since then, but in general, if you go to Yodobashi Camera, I think you'll be pretty impressed. He also asks if it's worth buying SD Gundams, which is something that I never used to be a fan of. I sort of went straight to the master grades with a few high grades in between, but especially after playing G Generation Wars, my interest in SD Gundams have gone up, but it's the kind of thing where I find you have to put in a lot of work, so either just some customization or some painting to make them look really good, but if you're happy with them out of the box, it's a quick, fun 1-hour build to put one of them together, so give it a shot. Super Dude asks, do you feel that the seed lines have been getting too much attention compared to the 90s series like X Victory, Turn A, etc.? My only answer to that, I guess, would be is that because it is the 2000 decade, and Seed was fairly successful here by a lot of accounts, and basically because it had 100 episodes, you could treat it as being sort of the equivalent as First Gundam and Zeta Gundam. So if you combine them into two series, yeah, it does get a lot of attention here, but then again, they should be striking while the metal's hot. So if kids grew up in 2004 watching Seed, and they want the master grade now, I understand that they should be getting it on the market now while it's hot, because that's something they didn't do with the 90s series, and now they're going to be going for adult fans who grew up with God, X, etc. Greg Strike Freedom says, why doesn't everyone like Exia or 00 that much? Actually, I don't know. I didn't know that people didn't like it, but I was surprised when I read the Gundam Ace Gundam rankings to see how poorly 00 did in general. Exia and 00, I think they're both out of the top 10. So anyway, the newest series from Bandai certainly did not seem to catch on with hardcore Gundam fans here anyway. But then again, the 00 Riser is leading in the master grade poll, which is either cleverly arranged or just a natural result of the fact that this show was just went off the air a few months ago. Persona User talks about seeing a Master Grade Tall Geese, which was on the survey, and it does have a lot of remold possibilities, which may be a bump up for that. The Leo seems a little bit unlikely, and Epion could get it, but Aquarius seems pretty doubtful, just to me anyway. Zeruel is talking about here the innovation in the engineering and the design of the mobile suits, and is there anything that I want to see? Well, the big one that I want to see them keep doing is avoiding seam lines on the front. If you build old kits from the 90s, you have big, ugly things that you have to cut off and clean and sand to get the fronts to look really good, and especially they used to just have the splits for the legs, like straight up and down the middle, so you could see the parting seam. Anyway, they look terrible. But what a good job Bandai has done lately, so that somebody who's like me, and I just cut them off and shave it with a modeling knife, I still am able to hide 95% of the cut marks, so really that's the only thing I want them to keep doing a better job. And the other thing that I would enjoy, it's a really finicky thing, but on the plates it's nice to have all of the parts grouped together. So if I'm building the arms, and I've got the gray parts on an E plate for a master grade, I'd like all those gray parts to be in one part, so that when you're going through you can sort of just, you can be sure that you're putting all the right parts into the right place, and that way you don't miss those tiny parts that you sometimes have to keep an extra eye out for. Shizune here asks, why didn't I use any decals on my red frame? That's something I mean to get around to doing. I do want to put the low and the junk guild symbol on the shoulder, just because it's on the cover, but generally I don't decal unless it was seen in the anime or in most of the promo art anyway. Try3DG is asking, what do you think about, do you think Bandai's focus on the Master Grade lineup is going to be on the Wing series this year? And my answer to that is a pretty simple no. We're getting the Gundam Wing, which you should check out here next week, but in general I think they're going to space this out as well, but hopefully that means we'll be getting Wing Zero sometime next year. Let Me Have It is in the groove. He knows everything that's going on in the movie industry here, because after the Gundam 00 movie and the Unicorn OVA, there's going to be a Seed Destiny movie. They're still trying to make it, or so the rumors go. But anyway, I don't know where Bandai's going to go with this. They've got the SD series airing now, and then they've got the 00 movie, but I'm sure after that they'll be coming back with a regular 50 episodes of something new, and that's going to sell a lot of plastic models. So whether they'd go back for a Seed movie when they can sort of drag out the Unicorn OVAs, I don't see it happening all that much anyway. Especially when you consider how successful I think the 6-month split up was for the 00 series. It allowed them to sell a lot more kits, and with the movie coming out, I think that's going to become standard for future releases, which is something that we can see in the Super Sentai series, etc. Once they find a marketing formula that works here, 6 months, 6 months off, 6 months on, and then a movie at the end, you can turn 50 episodes, which they have to animate in HD, and I'm sure it takes a lot of time and effort and money, that they can make a lot more sales in between. Blitz8083 is talking about master grades are the line for gimmicks instead of stability, and I agree with you in a lot of cases here. But for the example you bring up of the high new, I think sometimes it's not so much of a matter of gimmicks versus stability as it is in release time. So because the master grade of the high new came out before the high grade Universal Century, they had a lot of time to refine that and make that a little better. I haven't checked the release dates though for the GM QL. I don't even know how to pronounce that properly. But anyway, just take a look at years more than anything else, and I, for one, am sort of happy when they include the opening cockpits in the master grade, although it's always something I forget to show off in the review. Zooftastic has a couple good points here about the size of the master grade the O, as well as a possible Psycho Gundam. That would just be ridiculous. The high grade Psycho Gundam looks great on a shelf with the other high grades, but a master grade would be massive. If there's a market for it, as they'll determine from the survey, who knows if it ever actually happens. Claude has a relevant question for the release of NG Wing Gundam next week, and he's asking about all the different variations. And what it is in a typical Gundam series, you have the lead Gundam for the first 25 episodes, and then the lead Gundam for the second 25 episodes. So in this series, the Wing Gundam was the lead Gundam for the first half of the series, and then that became the Wing Gundam Zero. Now, the confusing part about Wing is that when they made a movie/OVA at the end just to capitalize on its popularity, as they're doing with 00, whether it's popular or not, probably was in the plans for a long time. However, there was also a Wing Gundam Zero, and that's just called the Endless Waltz version, or sometimes custom as it is on the box. Now, the only one that's really confusing is that the first Wing Gundam also has a variation in Master Grade kit form, which is a version Ka kit, and basically it's just the same Gundam with a different set of wings that he apparently came up because he wasn't the lead mobile suit designer, I believe. Anyway, it was just an excuse for Bandai to sell you the same model twice, although it does look pretty cool actually, especially if you put the decals on the wings. Jolig has a question here. How do you think Bandai is going to use the Master Grade survey? Well, I'm hoping that we're going to get all 30 of those, minus the unicorn ones, which I personally don't care about, or the Akatsuki. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That they'll use this, but probably they're going to use that to release, or to guide their Master Grade releases over the next 5 or more years. Because if they're only putting out about 8 a year, plus 00 kits, etc. like that, plus things that we don't know about yet, that they're going to want to be coming in with, hopefully we'll get them all over time. But probably they'll space it out so that they don't put all of their best, most wanted master grades to be released in 2011, and that leaves them with something that nobody wants to buy in 2012. Generally, they try to spread it out, and that's why the July and December releases are usually the biggest of the year.
So that wraps it up for today. For anybody who's watching here from Japan, go check out Yodobashi Camera, because mine had a huge sale, 50% off, on Master Grade Gundams. Well, most of the ones from the clear parts version, not the older versions, and not everything. Strike Noir and a couple others weren't, but even newer Master Grades like the G3, etc. were on for 50% off, so go check it out. Anyway, everybody, Master Grade Wing is on its way soon, so Daily Gundam will be continuing till then, and we'll see what happens after that, but thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.